We're halfway through the Sundance Film Festival. I'm Owen Gleiberman here with Peter DeBruge. Peter, we've seen some really good movies this festival, and one of the highlights for me, for sure, is The Report with Adam Driver. It's a movie about the Senate investigation into the United States' use of enhanced interrogation techniques. That sounds kind of recent and maybe a little dry, but I have to tell you, this is one of the few political dramas I've seen in recent years that I would really compare to a 1970s movie. It has that kind of urgency, that kind of importance, and it's been made with that kind of skill, and Adam Driver is fantastic in it.
For me, maybe the movie that's sort of on that level is After the Wedding, which opened up the film festival. It's a remake. You don't encounter that very often at Sundance, but they've done something interesting. They took a Danish movie and they gender swapped the two leads. So Julianne Moore and Michelle Williams, who is so good in this movie, now play roles that were originally written for men. And even though it's almost like a scene-for-scene remake, every choice they make to sort of re-engineer it so that it emphasizes these women just makes the movie that much richer.
Another movie I really liked was Blinded by the Light. The first movie I really liked by the director Gurinder Chadha since Bend It Like Beckham in 2002. I think she's really back in form with this movie. It's about a Pakistani-British teenager in 1987 who is kind of in the doldrums and is redeemed by the music of Bruce Springsteen. That sounds a little corny, and the movie risks corniness, but it's really a film about our relationship to pop music, how pop music can give you faith. And I think in that sense, it trumps every movie I've ever seen made from a Nick Hornby novel. So Blinded by the Light, really a highlight for me.
You know, a movie that I expected to maybe be kind of gonzo and just wild was this film Honey Boy by Shia LaBeouf. He wrote and stars in this film. He's effectively playing a version of his dad, and it's sort of a child actor working through the kind of damage of his upbringing. But what surprised me is this movie is very sincere and very vulnerable. I mean, it's not mommy dearest, it's not shrill and angry, and I think by virtue of playing his own dad, it's like he's forced to identify with the person that maybe is the source of a lot of his turmoil. That movie, I think, is much stronger than I expected.
You know, there's been a number of big deals at the festival here in the $15 million range, and one of them is Late Night, which was bought by Amazon Pictures. And it has been greeted here as a major crowd pleaser. It was written by Mindy Kaling, who co-stars in it. Emma Thompson plays a late-night comedy host who's been at this for 28 years and is sort of in a rut. It's also a comedy about diversity in the workplace because the writer's room is all white men and Mindy Kaling comes in and she's going to shake things up. I liked some things about this movie, especially Emma Thompson's performance, but I have to say, for me, it was a little scattershot. It wasn't the home run or even the triple I really wanted.
For me, the movie that maybe has impressed me most, although I'm not sure that it's going to be commercial enough, is Luce, L-U-C-E. It's a movie that reunites Naomi Watts and Tim Roth, who played this married couple with the kind of worst luck in Funny Games, the Michael Haneke movie. Here, they're sort of the white perspective into a story that's very much about race. They've chosen to adopt a former child soldier who was raised in Africa and kind of helped him through therapy and all these things transform into the would-be valedictorian, kind of captain of the basketball team. And then there are these discoveries that kind of unfold at work that suggest maybe that he's an activist or he's a terrorist, and it just unpacks a lot of the prejudice that I think exists even among sort of liberal-minded people. And in a way that I think Get Out did, this movie is really asking some pretty powerful questions about race in this country.
You know, you can't talk about Sundance any year without talking about the documentaries. As always, they are some of the highlights. I've seen terrific documentaries here about subjects as varied as Roy Cohn, the Apollo 11 mission, and the movie Alien. But certainly the documentary here that has most gotten everyone talking is the 4-hour-long documentary about Michael Jackson called Leaving Neverland, which features the extended testimony from two people who claim to have been victimized by him, claim that he was a child sexual abuser. This is such a deadly serious topic, and the film has been very controversial because there are many who believe that Michael Jackson has been railroaded on these charges, but I have to say, I watched Leaving Neverland and found the testimony to be overwhelmingly powerful and convincing. It's quite a devastating movie to watch because I think it shows us that the greatest pop genius since the Beatles was perhaps a monster. But I think because he was such important and is such an important figure in our culture, Leaving Neverland is an important film to see.
You know, the same afternoon that Leaving Neverland played, another bombshell hit with Untouchable, which is a documentary about the Harvey Weinstein scandal. And to see that at Sundance, you know, which was basically the playground for this one-time titan, it's just, things have changed so much in 2 years since the scandal broke and the Me Too movement exploded. And the director here, a woman named Ursula McFarlane, she does something really interesting. She's not breaking news on this, but she's talking to the victims, and she's showing them in a way where she trains the camera on their faces and lets them tell their stories in a way that I think we're hearing them kind of for the first time. The human eye is the greatest lie detector there is. And when you see this kind of thing, as in Leaving Neverland, it just really affects you in a different way than it does reading it in a magazine.
Yeah. Now, I think that a lot of the documentaries here, I mean, they just have this quality of testimonial, and there's no substitute for that. As we've said, we've seen so many good films here so far, and we're just halfway through the festival.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to start catching up with some of the stuff you've loved. There's much more great stuff to uncover.